Hello and welcome to my Starfield thoughts. I finished the game. This is Wilbur Higgins III, my character. I wanted to show him off because, we spent some time together. Spent about 40 hours together. Finish the game is an interesting term, but it's the one we're going to go with here because I completed the main story. I completed the game's weird. It's a weird thought process. I didn't do much side story. I kind of rushed the main story, I guess, but I did a lot of exploring, but I didn't do that much. It's complicated. The first question that a lot of chat was wondering when it came to my thoughts on Starfield was, did you enjoy it? I had a real love-hate relationship, and I think towards the back half of the game, it sided more on the love side than the hate side. A lot of that actually was kind of remedied by the mods that I used, and the idea that I stopped fighting the inventory system. So did I enjoy it? We'll talk about more of what I just said in just a bit. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Can I recommend it? On Game Pass, sure. And maybe the third question for that is, should you play it day one? Or should you play it 6 months, a year, something like that, when all the mods are there? Because mods are already out. Granted, they're not really that, significant yet. But there are mods. There are quality of life mods that exist. And I would honestly say, if you're going to get it on Game Pass, I would say play day one. And not necessarily focus on, play what you want. If you're grabbed by it, then, play how you want to and play what you want to. But definitely like going once through the main quest will, I think, make revisiting the game in the future with mods more approachable in that regard. And I think maybe that's the fourth and final kind of question in the opening of this is, should you rush the main story? It depends on the person. I don't think that the hype around rushing the main story and kind of this weird conversation that I think sprung up post-review is something I agree with. But given what happens, I can see why people would say that. It's really going to be on a case-by-case basis, and I know that's me kind of fence-sitting in terms of how I feel about it, but it really just depends what you're looking for. I would say if I didn't already know what was going to happen with the ending, and I got to the ending and started New Game Plus, not knowing what was about to happen, and I spent a very long time in my game, I'd be a little pissed off, to be honest. But most people are going to probably quit after the credits, I would assume. So again, it really just comes down to the purpose. I don't want to get into any spoilers, and I kind of might have already said too much with what I just said, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Let's talk about the game in general. Kind of just have a list of things here to discuss. Combat, I thought the combat was fun. Is it a fantastic tip top of the line FPS? No. Does it do what you want to in kind of a Bethesda, RPG style thing with a bunch of different guns? Yeah. I thought the combat was pretty enjoyable. I never once thought like, man, I hate this combat. And that's both, the FPS, the shooting guns, and the space combat. You kind of have to be prepared for both. You can't just rush in, at least on highest difficulty, which is what I did play on. Do I recommend highest difficulty? Nah, play normal. Unless you really care about like having a challenge. Play normal. You're going to have more fun. It gets kind of bullet spongy. That's how they tune difficulty in Bethesda games. So just plain normal. That's for combat. I enjoyed it. I kind of had, my go-to guns. There's a ton of guns in the game, types I'm referencing. There's also a ton of different like bullets, and the items in the game are plentiful, which kind of leads me to maybe my biggest gripe about the game. This held true even after my day one thoughts video, which you might have already watched. If not, you can find it down below in the videos section. Inventory in this game is god awful. It's awful, just straight dog shit. It is 100% a console-ified UI and inventory system, and the second that you put a mouse and keyboard in it, you get to see its flaws right out of the gate. If you're playing on console, I guess it's probably serviceable and probably the best you're gonna get, unless they somehow put mods on consoles, which I think they've done before. But yeah, I don't like the inventory system. So much so that 30 hours into the playthrough, I said fuck it, and I just turned off weight limit because I was tired of bothering with the encumbrance system. I was tired of, going back to my ship, getting items from my ship, having 1,300 cargo on my ship, and still filling that up, not even looting everything, just things way too much, resources way too much. I think ultimately they expect you to kind of interact with everything in the game, so to speak, if you're gonna be an item whore, and you start doing base building and you have storage on the ground, and then I think you can keep a lot of the resources there and put stuff on your ship, and all those systems kind of work together. But if you don't interact with that stuff, it kind of crumbles, which I get the idea, like, yeah, maybe I should have worked with all of that at the same time and I wouldn't have had those issues. But I can also just hit tilde on the PC and up my weight limit, and I had a great time as soon as I did that, because the inventory is awful. It's bad. It's really bad. Performance, generally fine. I was playing at 4K 60 with everything on max. I eventually installed a reshader. We'll get to mods in just a bit. It didn't really have that much performance hit, but it would kind of average 4K 50, 4K 60 in terms of my my FPS, 50 FPS or 60 FPS. I think the lows were around mid 40s, and I'm running the tip-top Intel board with a 4090. So kind of would have wanted more there. I think if I would have had like DLSS 3 with frame generation, I probably could have eked out a little bit more FPS and had a better time. But for the most part, it was fine. Let's talk about the mods before we go into everything else that I used. I was using a reshader. It completely changed the game, and I think the game went from like generally a decent looking game to an absolutely beautiful game. It got rid of the green tint and kind of almost the like hazy, like gray filter that they have on top of everything. It's like a weird matte, and it got rid of that. It's got like some fake HDR. We'll link the mods that I used, or you can just go to itmeJP/game mods, one word, game, GAMEMODS, and you can find the 3 mods that I was using there, which were the reshade. One that really actually changed the game, but I think maybe introduced a little bit of stutter, was a UI FPS enhancement. To go into that, the UI without mods is 30 FPS. The mod itself bumps it up to 120. It really made the game a lot more enjoyable because everything was just a lot snappier and a lot faster paced, especially with how much time you spend in menus, especially like going through all of the Starfields and the worlds and all that type of stuff. I felt like the increase to FPS in the menus really helped. I think it might have introduced a little bit of stutter, and it also kind of showed you a lot of things that are tied to UI FPS, such as the credits at the end of the game, because those ran about 4 times faster than what they generally do, which is kind of comical. But having that FPS mod for the UI definitely made a big improvement. Check that mod out if you have a PC that can kind of support that. And then the other thing I included was an FOV. It's really an INI file. It's not really a mod. I guess it depends on what you classify a mod as. But yeah, I bumped my FOV up to 100, and that just felt better for me to play as, because it's kind of wild that the game doesn't have an FOV slider in it. But again, it's probably the consolification of the game. So those 3 mods really improved my enjoyment of the game, and it's really the first of like countless mods. I think this game is only going to improve as time moves forward. I think mods are going to be paramount to kind of where this game is 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. People are going to be able to do some crazy shit, and that might be the most exciting part of this game, is it's in a lot of ways kind of built to be modded and added to in that regard, with all the different planets and things that you can visit. My biggest recommendation is, if you are playing on the PC, get yourself an SSD, preferably an NVMe drive if you don't already have it. I think it might be in the recommended specs that you have an SSD, but man, you load things non-stop. Sometimes in the main story, you jump to a spot and you're there for 5 seconds before you're leaving and loading an entirely different thing. It's absolutely wild how much loading you do. So having an NVMe drive will really benefit you and help you along in that regard. And I would find that like super important to have. Kind of just running through the checklist of a standard review. Thoughts on the main story. Starts off really weak, finishes stronger. I would say the story didn't really hook me until about 60 or 75% of the way through it. And then after that, I was pretty much on board. It was fun. It was interesting to kind of see the mystery unfold, as it were. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. Music is great. You're hearing it kind of in the background right now, as well as insects. Hopefully that's not annoying. But yeah, I thought the music was generally great. Graphics, like I said, I thought were generally fine, apart from that filter that they put over everything. I didn't touch the base building really at all. It seems kind of like what you would expect if you've played Fallout 4. I didn't really care that much about it. I could see if you were doing a huge expansive playthrough that you would definitely want to utilize that and kind of push all that stuff forward. But yeah, that's up to you. Companions. Kind of dog shit, if I'm honest. I wasn't really pulled in any one direction by any companion, and they never really won me over. And I didn't really get too far into their stories, but generally I was not interested in any of the companions in the game. And I think that's also just because the writing in the game is not necessarily that strong. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's not strong. It's not the game's strong point by any means. So that kind of carries through in the voice acting as well. I thought the voice acting was fine in a lot of ways. You're kind of... The actors are working with what they're given, and I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were by any means bad. My favorite way to kind of explain the writing and the voice acting, I had a character talk to me about a dead loved one, and kind of the things that they used to do and the things they used to experience. And then at the end of all of that, I had the option to flirt with them right after they told me about their loved one that died. So that seems, appropriate, I guess. It's kind of odd. It wasn't the biggest fan of that, but yeah. Spaceship customization. I think the spaceship customization might be like one of the cooler parts of the game. I can see a lot of people spending a ton of time in there recreating and having already recreated stuff that I have seen on the internet, like Star Destroyers, the Millennium Falcon. There's a bunch of other Star Wars, X-Wing, A-Wings, Y-Wings, all that stuff. You can create some really, really cool looking ships. You can color them all. You can have a billion different ship parts. Those ships can do different things. I really like the spaceship customization. The thing that kind of sucks about it is that apart from fighting, you don't really do much in a spaceship. When you load into like a planet area, all you can do is fly around in that little area. Nothing moves as you get like closer to it, apart from the things directly in that area, like other ships or ships that you have killed or space stations. But like other planets and everything, they don't get closer, and that's kind of a deal breaker for a lot of people. That being said, I do think the actual spaceship customization process is very cool, and you can make cool things. You're just a little bit limited in what you can actually do with them. I think that's kind of everything for that. I'm streaming this live right now on Twitch as we record this. If you guys have any questions in the chat or anything that I do need to add. Oh, someone brought up perks. Man, I gotta be real honest. I fucking hate the perks in this game. I got... Only because I didn't know ahead of time. I started with lockpicking because there's so many things to lockpick in this game. They're kind of super important if you care about getting absolute trash loot throughout your playthrough. You can take the lockpicking perk. I started with that. Then I took 4 perks into the weight lifting class so I could have, I think, 100 more weightlifting. That, of course, was nullified by the fact that I modded it afterwards. I took piloting up to 4 after that. That helped a lot because I was able to use C-class ship stuff, and that was kind of cool. But I didn't really get past... I ended the game at level 32 or 31, I think. And I didn't get past the first tier of 4 in the game when it comes to like the perk screen. So there's no level cap. You can get every single perk. I think it's like 6,000 perks or something like that. Perk points or some crazy number. But yeah, I found myself just constantly annoyed with kind of the ways to level up. For example, the medicine perk, which is in the science tree, tier 2 of the science tree is where you get the ability to customize your weapons and your spacesuits. Those are 2 different perk point slots. But in order to customize any weapon and any spacesuit that you get, you have to have tier 2. So unless you want to spam points in tier 1, the only way to get to tier 2 is by leveling up those tier 1 perks. I chose to level up medicine. Medicine is leveled up by having 4 perk points, but each tier is 10, 25, or maybe it's 25, 50, 100 med packs used to heal. I ended the game on the 3rd tier, 85 out of 100, so I didn't even hit the 4th tier. Granted, I only spent 40 hours with it, so I know that's a little bit short. Shorter than I think most people that really dive into this, but really annoying that's how you level that stuff up, and there's no way around it. Using 100 med packs is a lot, but I guess that is a way of maxing out the skill. So I don't know. Still kind of, I guess, have to form an opinion on that, but definitely sucks. I had like 11 perk points unused at the end of my playthrough because I just didn't know what to put them into, or care, I guess. But I guess there was a question, did it meet the hype? I think I had convinced myself that this was going to be a not Bethesda game for some dumb reason, and then it was a Bethesda game. I typically... people will take this and be like, oh, well, he doesn't like them to begin with, so why would he enjoy this? Because that's all it is. I have shied away from playing Bethesda games in the past because I know what those are and I know what to expect. I think the reason that I stuck around in this one was because of the subject matter. I don't really care for the world of Fallout at all. And that's kind of been the main focus for Bethesda the past couple of years. I enjoyed the hell out of Skyrim when it first launched. I think I put 100 or 150 hours into Skyrim when it launched. And I enjoyed Starfield in terms of the subject matter. So did it meet the hype? Didn't meet my personal hype, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. At the end of the day, shocker, it's a Bethesda RPG. And I think that's probably the best way to kind of tell people if they should get this game or not is, do you like the Bethesda RPG formula? Yes or no? And if your answer is no, do you like space and making spaceship stuff? And if your answer is yes, then maybe. Maybe. Otherwise, dip out. But really, it's on Game Pass. You should have Game Pass. It's kind of the best deal right now. There's an insane amount of games into that, in that. So you could just play it for that purpose. But yeah, I think that's it. I think those are all my thoughts. All in all, I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I experienced it. The conversation of Starfield is going to be wild. The game's not even out yet, officially. It comes out this Wednesday. So everyone else will get their hands on it, and I'm sure the conversation will go a certain direction. We'll be talking about it on Drop Frames and on the channel, so feel free to come by and hear us talk about all those things on Twitch. Coming up next, this Wednesday on September 6th, we're going to be doing Palia for Community Day. Potentially, you guys can still vote for at least another 5 hours, depending on when this video comes out. Sea of Stars will be started on Thursday. That'll be after trailer time. We'll do our normal trailer time and then jump back into Sea of Stars. Might do a full playthrough of that. That game's about 25 to 30 hours, I think. So that could happen. And then after that, I'm not really sure. Whiskey Sweet is going to be returning on the 16th. We have some hashtag the Thon rewards. So myself and Aaron will be doing that. I think we're going to do a birthday cake because my birthday's on the 15th of this month. So I think the next episode on Saturday, the 16th of September, will be kind of a birthday themed episode where we'll bake a cake or something like that. And then I gotta get Max and Beth up here to do all that stuff. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, if you like me doing these, if you don't like me doing these. You seem to enjoy my Baldur's Gate 3 thoughts, so I figured why not do another one for Starfield. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on the channel. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm out here. Have a good one.